So this is a sample of some of the knives that I've carried. This is the first one that I made, and it's got this nice upside down carry sheath. I modified it for a right side up, but this was made by my good friend Mike in Dickinson, Texas. So this is the first one that I made, and this was modeled after the Turley Green River. It's got a convex grind on it. This is actually the third set of scales that I've put on it. The first two didn't have any sort of rivets holding them on, and they broke off in batoning. This is 5/32 thick, so it's a really thick knife, and it's pretty heavy. I forget how much it weighs, but it's like 9 or 12 ounces, something like that. So this knife's been through a lot. It's pretty rugged. It's like a little axe. You can smash anything with it. But I find it's just really, really heavy, so I don't carry it that much anymore. This is one that I made back in high school. I bought this little Bowie blade and the, whatever the back piece is, pommel. Maybe this is the pommel, whatever it is. I tapped that and screwed it on. I never finished it. I kind of want to go back and finish it, but I'm just leaving it this way because this is how I made it. This is the leg bone of a deer, and then I made this out of a piece of steel. I like this, and I carried this knife more because it's a little bit lighter. It's still fairly thick, but maybe, I don't know, it's a little more than an eighth. But it doesn't weigh nearly as much. But it's kind of annoying to get it in and out of this sheath, because this sheath is really meant for a different knife. And this thumb guard kind of stops it from getting in and out. This is actually a kitchen knife, but it's got the same shape as another kind of bushcrafty knife that I made. That's styled after a hankatsu, which is a Japanese butcher's knife. I really like the shape of this. This blade works really well. This one's maybe a little thinner, but I'd go with like an 1/8 inch, and I'd be really happy with that. I actually had one at one point, but then I was heat treating it, and I ended up breaking it. I've never remade it since. And then finally, this is the knife that I actually carry the most now. It's just got a simple little sheath. Once it gets cold out, like now, I can just put it into the little side pocket in like Carhartts, so it's easy to carry around. Although I'd like to put a belt loop on it to carry it horizontally on my belt. It's 9 inches long, end to end. The blade's a little bit more than 4 inches, I think, or it's about 4 inches. It's somewhere in there. It's a little bit long for that horizontal carry to be super comfortable. I'd like it to be a little bit shorter, but it feels really good in my hand. Again, this one's about an 1/8 inch thick. And it's kind of a sheep's foot type shape. You notice that this one and this one here are both single bevel knives, so you have to adjust a little bit, but I like that single bevel, and it's easier to make. This was actually just an experiment. I wanted to see how fast I could make a knife, and I made this whole thing in about an hour. This is an old hammer handle, so it's hickory, it's nice hard wood. And I just did that sheep's foot because it was the quickest, easiest thing to do. But being a bastard file, this is really hard steel, and it works really well. And because it's carbon steel, I can actually whack it with a piece of chert or something, and it'll throw sparks, and I can start fires with it. If you compare that to this Benchmade, this was just kind of a knife that I lusted after for a long time. So I finally broke down and bought it. It's the most expensive knife I have by far, but I like the shape of it, and I carry it every day. I have another Benchmade. It's a mini Griptilian, and the back half of it is serrated. I've had a lot of those half serrated knives over the year. I don't think they look very good, but especially as the knife dulls, that serrated bit will always cut. And then for like gardening, cutting woody stalks, that serrated edge is a lot better than this. The other thing about this knife is this particular type of steel just doesn't bite into wood very well. So from kind of like a bushcraft, woodscraft perspective, I struggle a lot harder to use this knife than I do this knife. But it folds up, it's easier to carry, and it's pretty, so I still carry it anyway. Anyway, that's kind of a sampling of some of my knives and some of the thinking that has gone into why I made them and why I carried them.